someone told me to drink, if drinking your urine was going to get you better, I would have just put it out there. Before I got sick, I would have thought meditation was a load of crap. So that was basically how much I've come around.
Hi, I'm Liz, and I healed from chronic fatigue syndrome. And I've come back to share my story and the stories of others who have healed. Nothing on this channel is medical advice nor meant to contradict what you yourself have discovered to be true. But I hope by sharing our stories, we can inspire you on your journey. I am so grateful to interview Chris about his 4-year recovery journey from chronic fatigue syndrome. Today, after multiple setbacks and years of trial and error, he's in peak health, playing Aussie rules football and training for a marathon, can work 5 days a week again, and feels more aligned with his true self than he ever was. Chris, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm so grateful as well to be able to share it to your audience and hopefully be able to give hope and some inspiration to people who are in the same situation as me, where I was stuck in for many years, and let them know there is light at the end of the tunnel.
That's so wonderful. So Chris, can you tell us, what was your life like before CFS?
Yeah, it was a good life, but it was pretty crazy. It was full of playing lots of sport. There's a bit of an Australian culture. I played Aussie rules football. I suppose it's in between like soccer, rugby, and American football.
It seems pretty intense.
Yeah. So I played that, and I played cricket, which is a bit similar, I suppose, to baseball. We try and win it on the field, and then off the field, we try and win as much as we can by, I suppose, drinking for gold medals as well. So I was stuck in that lifestyle probably for about 20 years. I was doing that, 17 to 35. I was also running marathons and just having no balance in between. I was traveling overseas and staying in hostels and all like that. And you know what, that's pretty rough living, not getting enough sleep. So it was just go. It was a good life though. I don't regret it. I've definitely lived life to the full, and it's got me to where I am now. But definitely I've changed my actions these days. Like I'm totally different compared to what I was back then, but I don't regret it. I don't regret any of it.
Yeah, it's all got us to where we are now. Can you describe briefly your onset with CFS?
Yes. So in 2016, I came down with the classic virus symptoms in November, but it had been a rough year for me, 6 months going into it. My best mate passed away, and just a few other things come in between. And I did notice I wasn't that well, but of course, being that type A person and what I mentioned before, it was still go. And I just neglected everything. And then one day I woke up and I just had this massive virus. Head was pounding like I'd been hit by Mike Tyson 10 times in a boxing round. And yeah, I wasn't able to recover from that virus. So I think my body was, what I've mentioned before, was in flight or flight for many years, which I just didn't know. And I probably didn't realize that I had any mental health issues as well before I was sick, because my life was just so on the go, running marathon sport, partying, holidaying, working hard. And then I was left to myself with no energy when I got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally relate to that, with being stuck on autopilot and fight or flight exactly for many years before things all fell apart. So what were your functionality levels? People always want to know that, your main symptoms and challenges.
So yeah, I found like my baseline was probably about 30% at best to start with. I could probably go on like about 4 or 5 minute walks. I went for a swim in the bay. I found that it was summer when I first got sick, but I found every time that I went swimming, I felt better at least for 1 or 2 minutes. And I was just doing stretches, of course, because like coming from a sporting background as well, but I had lots of body aches and all like that, and back pain and headaches, which were killing. But whenever I had a crash, I'd get back down to like 1 or 2 out of 10. there was a massive confusion. Like I just didn't know what was going on, and yeah, it was looking back, it was tough stuff. But here I am now.
So you had the post-exertional malaise, you had the terrible headaches, body pains. So you went to see the doctor.
Seeing like a Western GP, and he was giving me B12 shots and vitamin C shots, and
Did he give you any advice on anything else, like about exercise or anything?
uh, told me to rest up for a couple of months, and then he told me it was all pretty wishy-washy, just go for a walk. And then he told me after 2 or 3 months that he recommended me to go back to work after having 3 months off. We'll program it to listen to our doctors. In a way, I was a little bit excited about going because I was pretty bored at home. But
Mm-hmm.
just looking back, like this was just absolutely the most silliest thing I've ever done. It was absolutely painful. Like I was going to work as a special needs school teacher, but I was basically functioning on very little. Like I had no petrol tickets, and it was painful. And I'd come home every night and I'd be absolutely wiped out. My doctor had told me which was, I suppose, in a way, it was okay because he was positive, but he was telling me 1 year you won't even know yourself, you'll be better. So I just went along with that. Yeah.
Eventually, you realize that, okay, this is not working. I remember from speaking to you earlier, you said you crashed by school term 3 and you decided to quit work. Can you tell me what then did you do in terms of alternative medicine
Yeah.
after you quit work and gave up on the Western medical
Yeah.
establishment?
So so it was probably about a year into the illness that I quit work. And but looking back, I didn't really work anyway because I was just there physically. I was lucky enough to have an assistant who did most of the teaching. She just told me to rest. So then I was pretty low then at that stage, like mood and all like that. So then it was a bit of the rat race and trying all these different alternative medicines. And then I was constantly researching about the illness online. And
Can you tell me some
yeah,
of the stuff you tried that might not have worked?
what pretty much what didn't I try? I tried everything. Just trying like bone broth fast and juice
Did the
fast,
bone
and
broth fast?
yeah, because I had bad gut health as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like with most people, with the illness, I had a Mediterranean diet. I was on about 15 to 20 supplements. I don't think they were really doing much. I was just constantly carrying around supplements in my pocket.
I had a
Yeah,
supplement baggie. Oh my God.
yeah. If someone told me to drink, if drinking your urine was going to get you better, I would have done it.
Exactly. Yes, for sure.
I was doing colonics and coffee and about anything possible. And then eventually I came across Ayurveda, and that was something which did definitely help me in terms of in my gut health. And it was, yeah, it was a sense of a new beginning because it definitely, my body type, like just reading into it, like I'm not massively into it anymore, but I definitely was when I was sick. But my body type, being a Kapha body type, spoke like levels to me, just like the functionality and the personality of a Kapha person and the body shape and all like that. And then I started eating foods just based on my Kapha diet, and it actually started getting my gut health pretty good.
That's
So that was,
awesome.
I
So
suppose,
you were eating a high-fat Mediterranean diet, which was recommended by your integrative Western doctor.
yeah,
But it turns out that wasn't working for you. And that's what I
yeah.
like about Ayurveda, because it's all about eating for your own body type. I'm a Vata. So opposite than
Yeah,
you.
I think looking back into it anyway, I think there's so many conflicting diets out there.
Hmm.
But I think it's just for people who are going through their chronic fatigue. I think it's just choose a diet which works best for you, like
Hmm.
what's going to help with your digestion and all that. For me, it was Ayurveda. I know why I was instructed to have a Mediterranean diet because most people with chronic fatigue are low in good cholesterol.
Hmm.
And that's why we're recommended to have a lot of fish oil and
Hmm.
that Mediterranean good fats and all like that. So I did get it, but my body that wasn't like good for my digestion and all like that. So when I got onto an Ayurvedic diet, I was just basically eating a lot of lentils, a lot of beans, all my veggies cooked, and fruit on the side. It does. The good thing about the diet does allow for the 80-20 rule, so you can have treats, but I didn't have treats for about 2 or 3 years because I was just so like regimental about I'm going to stick to this to 100%. I definitely eat treats now, but back then, yeah, it was just diet, and I also was drinking my water warm every time, and especially on wake up. I'd wake up and then I'd drink like a liter of warm water, maybe add a little bit of lemon and salt into it, and it just gets the digestion going
Yeah.
first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And then just during the day as well, I was just drinking warm water, and that's definitely great for your digestion.
Yeah, that's something I
I
still
found that
do.
I found that all worked for me.
So what were the primary areas of focus of your recovery, if you could boil it down to a few things?
Yeah, so diet, getting good quality sleep. I remember in the first year, I was wiped out. So I slept really well. But then by the second year, I ended up, which happens to a lot of people, I ended up being wired and tired. And I started developing really bad like anxiety, and I started having insomnia. So getting good quality sleep, sleeping from 10 to 7 a.m., letting your body rest, digest, and repair overnight. Restorative movement, which we'll talk about a bit later, because it's a very important and can be controversial topic, and as well as mindset, which of course is, which I found 50% the main pillar of recovery.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about mindset. And in our written interview, you wrote a lot about meditation and becoming an observer of your thoughts. So a lot of
Yeah.
people, or at least I, before I meditated, I thought meditating was about trying not to think any thoughts. So can you describe your experience with mindset and meditation and how that helped your recovery?
Meditation was instrumental in my recovery. And let me just put it out there. Before I got sick, I would have thought meditation was a load of crap. So that was basically how much I've come around. So I had these really killer headaches and like migraines 24/7. And I worked it out that it was my thoughts which were having a large part of these headaches and my anxiety. And I sort of worked it out, if I was calm a little bit, that the headaches wouldn't be so intense. So then by about 2018, so like around getting close to 2 years into my healing journey, I had a best mate who was a Buddhist. I'm not a Buddhist, but I went along to meditation classes with him. I've spoken about this best mate as well. I spoke to him every day in recovery, and we just talk, and he was there for me the whole time. So yeah, I owe him quite a lot. Anyway, but he was able to explain like a lot more what the teacher was able to explain. Unfortunately, most chronic fatigue sufferers, we're all in flight or flight. Our whole bodies have basically collapsed. Our mind, our immune system, our gut health, our nervous system. Definitely, my nervous system was flattened. Your mind, hence why you got brain fog. But slowly but surely, I went to meditation and I learned about the wandering mind to begin with. When I was meditating, I learned about my thoughts and which negative thoughts I had and which were positive thoughts. And then I was able to use the meditation that I learned at meditation class or when I was practicing at home, and I was able to use it in everyday lifestyle. So I've spoken about conscious and unconscious thoughts. Our conscious thoughts are what we choose. Like I've turned this on Zoom chat on today to speak to you, but our unconscious thoughts are our default program and the thoughts that you have at the back of your head. 95% of the time, they're running negative thought patterns. So what meditation helped me was not to engage in those thoughts and to reprogram my mind. I still have bad days occasionally now, but by doing the meditation day by day by day, I was slowly able to reprogram the mind. Those negative thought patterns at the back weren't as much. And when they did come, I was able to, like, when I was walking down the street, for instance, go bang, oh, that's a negative thought. I'm not going to go there today. I'm just going to let it go. And then sometimes you might have something which is really habitual or something like that. So it might take 2 or 3 days, but you give it your all. Don't go there, and it will go away. I promise you, it will go away. So I was very lucky to have this mate. I was having these conversations with him like all the time and all like that. So it was like he was, I suppose, also my meditation coach, like my one-on-one coach. So it was instrumental from getting me out of flight or fight and into healing mode. And then from a healing mode, everything else then was able, like with recovery, with the other stuff, like sleep and my gut health and my restorative movement, I was able to improve a lot quicker due to being in healing mode.
Yeah, I was the same way. Once I really worked on my mind, all the other stuff started to improve because our bodies, of course, can repair when we're calm, as you just said. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, you're when you're 110% positive, or you go 110% positive thoughts most of the time, or look, everyone's going to have negative thoughts still, but when you plan on having 110% positive thoughts and letting those other thoughts go, well, everything else is going to come into place a lot easier. Like, you're going to sleep better, you're going to eat better, your digestion is going to be a lot better.
I totally agree. So I do have a question, because I think people are like, okay, I have a negative thought, and then they get mad at themselves for having a negative thought, and they stress for having stressed. So what did meditation teach you about dealing with these negative thoughts? Okay, you identified with them. Now what do you do?
Yeah, so I can remember a lot of the teachers telling us, most of the time we don't actually think. We don't actually have much control over our thoughts. Most of the time they're just a tornado of thoughts, mainly about us, mainly negativity as well. So those thoughts you're not to get angry at them, because they're natural. Everyone has them. But you have a choice, though, if you're going to engage in those thoughts, or you're going to let them go and just not feed them. Especially those back unconscious thoughts, we don't have a great deal of control over, but we do have a control over what we do with them. Either we feed them or we let them go.
I love that.
And I definitely recommend letting them go.
Letting it go.
But in saying that, look, retraining the mind took me at least, because anxiety or anything like that, like I mentioned before, was so foreign to me, and then until I got this CFS. So it wasn't like I just turned it on straight away. It was probably a year or two of like good, hard, honest work on retraining the mind, doing lots of meditation and mindfulness. And then I did have baby steps along the way, and like I'll let that one go. Like, that's great. But then like the next day I'd have a bad day and I was just engaging in those negative thoughts. But I did see a slow progression, and it's like the restorative movement as well. It's baby steps, baby steps, baby steps along the way the whole time.
Yeah, because you're retraining your brain. Yeah,
it takes time. In the end, it's definitely worth it. Like, it's just so much better. We'll talk about life on the other side, but once you get on top of those thoughts and all like that, like, it's, you'll be back to loving life, and it will happen. Just hard work and perseverance.
Yeah, so you had some pretty rough times and during your journey. What was your lowest point, and do you still have hope?
I also had chronic pancreatitis on top of my chronic fatigue, which it started around probably 2 years into the illness. I had previously had it a lot more mild a couple of years before I got sick. But basically in 2019, I was either sitting at home or in hospital. I had about 10 operations on my pancreas. Eventually, they had to have a really big one because the other 9 weren't working. And as well, I had lots of emergency runs into the hospital as well when I had inflammations on my gut. Lost a lot of weight because I couldn't eat. But I have to admit, though, still using the kapha diet on top of with the pancreatitis helped, because I was still like, my digestion was still all right, but I just had really bad, like, it was like I had hot coals in my stomach. After the last operation, so it was only at the start of 2020, then my mood was probably at its lowest. So I had to go into hospital for my mood. I suppose that was probably one of the most scariest times. It was also the most loneliest time as well. It was very slow going in there. And I got a mood medication for my mood, which was like what was said with the chronic fatigue, everything's been flattened. So my mood was flattened. It didn't happen overnight. I had to trial a different medications before we found the right one. But in the end, that medication helped me by 10, 15%. But in saying this, a lot of people go, oh, well, it's so good that you found the right medication. But I think the medication only works if you do the hard training with your mind.
Yeah, so it was something to take the edge off because your body had just been under
anesthetics and all. I had chronic fatigue for over 3 years as well. I think that's that's debilitating in itself. So,
yeah, well, because I guess there is a stigma around, oh, people who are chronically fatigued, it's just depression, but it does seem like it's the opposite. Like when you have all this stuff happen to you, it can affect your mood. And I remember from your written story, you said it was a 6-hour operation. That can really affect the mind. So I'm glad you were able to find the right mood medication, and all your other work, you were able to get out of that. So when did things turn around for you? Because that was not even a year ago. When did things turn around for you?
So what happened was in 2020, so I had the operation on the pancreas, and then I was able to eventually find the right mood medication. And then I slowly went back to work, like maybe 1 to 3 days a week. And I was probably feeling, because I'd done a lot of hard, even though I was feeling at the start of 220, I got up to 1 out of 10 at some stage. Like that, things can definitely change quick. And like there was spurts in like, say, 2018 where I was feeling, say, 5 out of 10. So I still had those good wins in the bank, if you understand what I mean. So what happened was COVID struck. I was from about March, April, May, I was working probably 1 to 3 days as a teacher, probably feeling about 60%, but I could get through the day and I could go on a bit longer walks. And then COVID struck. I'm in Melbourne, and what happened was we were in lockdown for 3 months, and because I had a casual job, I had to stay at home. Only people who are essential workers went to work, and we couldn't leave. Like we got like a massive fine if we went 5K out of our radius from where our house was. So it was a time where basically I just said to myself, look, I'm starting to do okay now. Like all that, I'd been to meditation training for probably nearly 2 years at this stage. The right mood medication. I was always doing Pilates and stuff like that as well. I was doing all the right stuff. My sleep was getting better. But then I knew that I'm going to be stuck at home for X amount of time. It wasn't going to go away quick. It ended up being about 3 months. So I just said, right, I'm going to start running pretty much on day one. And then I'm also going to journal because I used to journal every day during recovery. I definitely recorded my thoughts, especially before going to bed and stuff like that, to get them off my chest, or
That's really
just to
good.
help,
Yeah.
just to help with anything. And I
Mhm.
also recorded my exercise, so just I wasn't doing anything willy nilly. Like, okay, I'm going to walk 30 minutes today, so I'd break it down, like record. Okay, like this day I did 15-minute walk, and then a 20-minute walk, and then know for the next day that I've got structure. Um, so I used all those journal notes, which I got them all out, and I read them so it was about 4 years of journal notes, and I just read them for the first 2 weeks, so that was good. And then I decided I'm starting to do alrighty, and I started running, and the first run I only did was 100 meters. It was like the same principles, which I'll explain later in restorative movement. I used the same principles with running. So the first run I only did was 100 meters. The second run I might have done was 150 meters. The third run was maybe 150 meters, walk 5 meters, run another 150 meters. It was just the same. It wasn't like I just went bang and ran 100 Ks. But it was a time where I kept myself busy, and my mind, like I was pretty much just about on top of my thoughts, able to manage them, not control them. You can't control your thoughts. You can manage them though. Like I said before, you've got the choice to feed them or to let them go. And so it was only in August 2020 to around October, everything just started.
But your 100-day lockdown.
Yeah, the first one was only maybe a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I was stuck at home. I journaled everything. I got out. I was lucky enough in my 5K radius. I'm on the beach. So and it was actually sunny most of August. So I went out and I did like yoga, stretching in the sun, morning and night. I did lots of meditation as well. I got back into that. I think I might have had a little bit of a break over the start of the year. And I just journaled and wrote and wrote. So instead of I stopped watching Netflix as well. So instead of sitting at home for 3 months watching TV, I was proactive in 3 months, and I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote about this recovery, wrote about that, how that helped and all like that, and the start of my journey and stuff like that. And so everything mentally, physically, and emotionally just become aligned with so, and I suppose what you could say was it came into healing. So I got myself out of flight or fight and was able to get myself into healing mode. So everything I just done was just positive. And I didn't, there was so much negative stuff going, everyone complaining about they're stuck at home, and I just let it all wipe away. I just, I treated it as like a vacation for myself and for my home, for my health, and it was just what I needed. It was, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise. I didn't have to worry about going to work 1 to 3 days a week. Yeah, and recovery was actually was really quick during that time. I was running. I was up to 12K running within like 6-7 weeks. I hadn't run for nearly 4 years. Probably peaked a little bit too much. But again, everything's trial and error, a lot of it in chronic fatigue recovery. So I learnt from that. But that also then brought me into to cold water therapy, because physios weren't open. So I remembered I had a footy coach, and he's a bit of a legend coach. He went on to coach like a famous AFL team, and he coached him to a premiership. So he's quite a legend. And he used to always just talk so much about swimming in the bay. And while there's no in the cold bay, his name is Luke Beveridge. And so I decided from about like August as well, like instead of these niggles, because my body was deconditioned from not being able to run for 4 years. But I felt my aerobic capacity was still okay. So I went for a swim every day as physio work, and that helped so much with muscle inflammation and swelling in the muscles, and just recovery as well.
So August and September, that's like your winter,
End of the
so it
winter.
must have been
Yeah,
freezing.
yeah. It's probably like when the coldest part of when the bay is, but it probably wouldn't be as cold as what it would be, say in Europe and there. It's probably like maybe it'd be like 15 degrees outside, 15, 13 degrees outside, and the water would probably be about the same temperature. But
What's that in
you know,
Fahrenheit? So chilly though, but
yeah,
I just love how you use this, like the time that's like everyone's like sad, gaining weight at home, drinking and binging on Netflix, and you use this time to focus on your recovery and really thrive. And that's awesome that you learned from your little blip, pushing too hard, about 6 weeks in, and then you found the cold water therapy. And are you still swimming in the bay every day?
yeah. I still swim, but it's warm now. So,
Oh,
but
nice.
mind you, yeah, but mind you, we've had a very mild summer at the moment in Melbourne.
Mhm.
So yeah, but I'm like my body, like a lot of people saying it's cold now when they go in, but I've been swimming since August, so it's not really much of a problem.
What are some of the other benefits of the cold water? You said it helps you recover anything, your muscles recover faster.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it also just gives you a lot of like if you're going to have a lot of fears and stuff like that, which of course you're going to have in like your chronic fatigue journey. If you're brave enough to go out there in the cold water, you're going to battle a lot of those other fears you're going to have in life. Like you go, right, I can go out there in like 10-degree water and the temperature's 12 degrees or something, swim for 5 minutes. Well, then the next thing I can do in life, I can do it. It gives you a
Yeah.
lot of determination.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I found for me, I had to do the mindset stuff so my body wouldn't freak out with the cold water. But once I, worked on that, and I started turning my shower colder, and it improves your willpower. And it also,
Yeah,
is of course good for the body and the immune system. Yeah.
yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
You are training for a marathon now. That's in March.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah,
up
in
to how
March.
many
Yeah,
miles? 30 kilometers, which is 18 miles.
that's how much I'm training now. And yeah, on the day will be 42,
Wow.
42K. So, but I ran a few before I was sick, but like compared to like, yeah, the preparation I did for those runs, like compared to the amount of preparation I do now is just like, you can't even compare it in terms of like the mindset, like I wouldn't even thought about doing meditation or eating, or I also drank a lot of alcohol beforehand. Like I was yeah. Looking back, I was only basically running marathons to to chill out for maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the run, and then go nuts afterwards. So, but like now,
It's
it's
much more
like just
balanced.
yeah.
Um,
Like I know some people are like, why is he going back to doing it? But like the end of the day as well, like I feel like I got so much energy at the moment from retraining the mind, and I just realized how much energy from all those probably underlying negative thoughts which I had when before I got sick. But now I'm aware of them and all like that, and I'm not losing a lot of energy, and I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock most nights, and I'm eating well, and yeah, I'm just basically like I treat my body like a temple. Like, but basically everything that I learned from recovery is now ingrained in my everyday lifestyle.
yeah. So you've been sober for 4 years, and
Yeah. Oh, I've had a couple of light beers. I like here and there, but nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, like before.
But
Just
now
in a special like a week.
but I guess people ask me like, oh, do I have to live perfect forever?
No, yeah, I had this
You do the 80-20 rule with your diet now?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like for years I couldn't eat food like pizza or meat or stuff like that because I just couldn't digest it. But I definitely eat it now. It's sort of like you go the middle way, I suppose now. Like, you can make it back, you can go see a band and stuff like that, but, like, you'd go home after seeing a band, stuff like that. You wouldn't like, "Right, let's kick on to the next place," or anything like that. Like, you're sensible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you're
And
39,
you're
right?
39, yeah.
39. So, what's life like on the other side and your goal now?
Yeah, so life at the moment is, I'm very content, like, but, like I said, everything's still ingrained in me with what I, learnt, and I'm not gonna ever, like, because it only takes me, like, now, I've had the bad thoughts, if I eat incorrectly, overdo it when I'm not feeling well, then I'm gonna not have a little bit of a relapse. So I watch my body, but I'm now able to get out, socialize, to meet up with friends and stuff like that, who I hadn't seen for years, and yeah, and basically now, like, I just want to give back to everything that I learned in my journey, and able to help people who have gone through the same situation, and I understand what they're going through, and I've been there before, and yeah, I definitely wanted to. I'm only going to focus on one thing at a time. So I'll focus on the marathon now, and then most likely after that, I wouldn't mind getting into coaching clients overcoming
Yeah, I
chronic
know so many
fatigues.
people are already, I shared a story on Instagram and so many people are really responding to it. So yeah, I think that's going to help so many people. You have such great advice. And
Yeah,
I know that you were
but
also able to work 5 days a week. I guess there's a break,
yeah,
but before the break.
yeah, yeah. So basically, it was only after when lockdown finished in about, maybe say, the middle of October, then I went back to work 5 days a week. So it was such a short, during that 3 months, I think I went from basically feeling probably, it took me from, say, 4 years to get from 30% baseline to about 60%
Hmm.
consistent. And then in that 3 months, I went from 60 to about 80, 85. So,
Yeah,
because like I said, I was able to get myself out of the flight or fight and into healing mode. And therefore everything just was
yeah,
physically a lot like aligned. My back pain went, the headaches went. Um,
that's
yeah,
very similar to my story. I was about the same. Like it took me forever to get to 50%. And then I healed over about 4 months. And I also I went out into nature and yeah, meditated more. And healing can happen when everything falls into place. So
place. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And that's what I tell people now, because like I mentioned, at the moment, like, I'm on holidays and I walk the dog at 8 o'clock. So I speak to a lot of people on WhatsApp, and I'm just like, I just tell them to just keep chipping away, chip away with your mindset, chip away with your with your yoga or your stretching and all like that. Because they're like saying, "Oh, I'm still sore." Just keep chipping away, the small steps, and then eventually there'll be big steps later on. But if you stay positive the whole time, you are going to have bad days, but on those bad days, you accept them, and you have patience, and you try and keep as positive as you can. Those little small steps you keep doing are going to create big ones.
I love that. Patience is key, as you just said. So, do you have
Okay.
any other parting advice for our viewers?
Yeah, just basically just don't give up. Like, you're going to have shit days, and
You're gonna have
accept
shit
them.
days. We all had
Yeah.
shit
Yeah,
days.
well, that's it. Everyone has shit days. Everyone in the world at the moment is quite pissed off. So, with COVID and stuff like that. So, but there is hope. There's a lot of negativity about the illness. I brush it aside as much as you can. Try and stick positive. There are a lot of good programs out there now. There's Liz's website, which is amazing. And there's also other good programs such as Toby Morrison's chronic CFSL. I'm seeing there's some other ones as well, and these programs give hope and inspiration that you will get better. And they've got lots of people who have recovered, or even that they haven't recovered 100%, but their life capacity, like their life is so much better than it was before. Just tell people not to give up. Just keep doing those baby steps each day, and you've got it. You've got it. Yeah. I also hope, like, when I get into coaching as well, that I'll be able to connect with people and help them as much as possible, because I do understand how hard it was, but I'm gonna, with everything that I used in my experience, I'd love to give back to helping other people. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm so grateful to share your story, and I really encourage everyone to go on my website, healwithliz.com, and read Chris's story. He sent me 40 pages, but I have it in nice little toggles, section by section, and he has really good advice on lifestyle medicine, and insights about mindset, and then he spells out all the restorative movement, and increasing your movement, and how he did that, which is just...
Yeah, I'm very passionate about recovery. That's why I sent you 40 pages. So
yeah, it was all really good. Yeah, I got so good feedback so far. People really like it. Yeah. So yeah, thanks again, Chris, and enjoy the rest of your, I guess it's still morning there in Australia, but enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Liz.
And in part 2, which is coming next on this channel, Chris will share the specifics of how he was able to increase movement. This is gonna be a good one. Stay tuned.